Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert from the Business Awards Show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Businesswomen Awards. And today I am delighted to be joined by the Best Businesswomen Awards Most Inspiring Businesswoman of 2023, Nicola Wood from the Wonderful Wig Company. And we're going to be talking a lot today about Nicola's business journey, a bit about awards, and hopefully she'll pass on a few business tips as well. So welcome, Nicola.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's brilliant. All the way from up north. Whereabouts are you based?
Definitely north. We are we're in Sunderland, so just
Ah,
under Durham.
I think I told you on the awards night that my dad was from Sunderland
Yeah.
and my
So
grandparents. So, yeah, we've got fond memories of trips up to Sunderland when I was little. And
yeah.
I've got family in Newcastle as well. So lovely to welcome you today. So, Nicola, let's start, as we always do with this podcast, talking about your business, the Wonderful Wig Company, and what made you set up a wig business?
Okay, so yeah, I have been a hairdresser all my working career. It's all I ever wanted to do, be a hairdresser. Although I did study engineering for a short, brief time after school. In my heart, I always wanted to do hair, and so yeah, I've had my own salon since I was 21.
Wow.
And yeah, I think it was a bit of that. I was constantly told growing up that hairdressers make no money. You can't have a career in hairdressing. It's just a job. You'll always graft and never make any money, and all of these kind of things. Um, and I guess I just wanted to prove them wrong.
Good
So
for you.
I did engineering for a couple of years, just because that was what I was supposed to do, because I was brainy and all the rest of it. And my mum was an engineer, so I did that, but my heart was never in it. My heart was never in it. So yeah, became a hairdresser, opened my own salon at 21, and just was really, really, really happy. Had a very successful small family business. My sister works with me. We're in a lovely suburb. All the boxes were ticked. I was just very happy. Never woke up and didn't want to go to work. And then when I was 36, I was diagnosed with breast cancer,
Mhm.
like many young women are. And I guess overnight your world just implodes, doesn't it?
Mm.
For men, and it's a very common thing that happens. But at 36, I felt like I was the only woman in the world who was 36, who had her own business, my little boy was only 6. Um, I just felt so alone, and so terrified of terrified of what my future, terrified of what my future looked like, but also really frightened about my business, my
Mm.
livelihood, because overnight you lose your
Mm.
livelihood, your ability to generate money as a self-employed person. So yeah, the question. Sorry, I've diversified.
No, that's all part of your story. So you've got
Yeah,
the hair salon, you've been
yeah,
diagnosed with cancer. So what was your next steps then? What did
yeah.
you have
So
to do?
yeah, so basically, I just saw woman after woman after woman at the hospital
Mm.
with no hair, and as a
Right.
hairdresser, this is like it's the first thing I noticed is a woman's
Mm.
hair. So I just looked around and just kept seeing these women with no hair, or women with really what I considered poor wigs. I could spot
Mm.
them that they
Mm.
were wearing a wig. I kept saying to my husband, "Oh God, look at her wig, look at her wig." I couldn't help it because
Mm.
it's what I pick up on. Um, and also the weight that they carried with that. Like
Mm.
they weren't like confident, strong women. They were like women who'd lost their sparkle, women who'd lost
Mm.
their crown. And so for me, I sat one day, it was a particularly bad day, and I sat with my husband and I'd been crying all morning and we sat in radiotherapy and I said, "This is it, Stephen, this is the reason that I got cancer." And he went, "What do you mean?" He went, and I just said, I'm going to make women with no hair feel beautiful. And honestly, it was that strong. It was just like this epiphany. This is what I've got to do.
Mm.
And from that minute on, it sounds really cliche, but it got us through my illness for all those months after, all those months healing and getting better and getting stronger. I just plowed me energy and all of my spare thoughts. Instead of cancer, it was, right, how do I be the world's best wig person, the world's best hair loss consultant? And it just took my mind off cancer. It gave us a focus, and that was me why, really. Yeah.
So how did you start? I mean, did you start doing research? I mean, obviously as a hairdresser, you would have covered in your training information about hair and hair loss. But
Well,
where did you begin with that? It was a huge task.
you'd be surprised how little is actually taught in hair.
Ah, really?
It's very, very basic, which is also part of my mission as it stands, because I want to change that, and
Yeah.
I'm in the process of helping to change that, hopefully. So yeah, so it began with just research. I explored the lengths and breadths of Britain to see what was available to people when they lost their hair. I went to wig shop after wig shop, service after service, London, Manchester, Scotland. I went all over the country and tested the services. I got in touch and I saw what happens when you can afford a wig, what happens when you can't afford a wig, what's, and then I started doing some training. I trained with one of the people I trained with was Trevor Sorbet's system, which is My New Hair, which is a charity that trains hairdressers. So I did their training. I went to Germany. I did some training in Germany because, in my opinion, they're some of the best in the world. Yeah, and I just decided to become the most qualified, most the best at it that I could be. What I found was really quite substandard in some areas, old-fashioned in nearly all areas. The people who were doing wigs were selling wigs like a pair of trainers in a box. They were locking the door behind you, pulling the curtain around you, as if you should be ashamed. You would walk in some places and it was just head to floor with mannequins and scary mannequins. If you're actually in the middle of losing your hair, walking into some wig shops, it's a really scary thing. You don't confronted with hundreds of wigs and mannequins when you're losing your hair. So I essentially researched everything that was out there and developed a business that was the polar opposite. I took everything that I saw and did the opposite.
Right. So if somebody needs a wig, talk me through the customer experience with you and what happens.
So we encourage people to pick up the phone. Like, we're not a faceless brand. We don't want you to fill in an online consultation form. We want you to pick up the phone and speak to an expert immediately, because we know that when somebody's going through hair loss, their emotions are right up here, they're at a 10. And we know that by just spending 10 minutes on the phone with whoever answers our phone, because everybody is trained, we can get them down to a 3. And immediately they feel better. Then they would book a private consultation. They can bring 1 people, they can bring 6 people. We've got room for whoever. And we would hope that they would come face to face. We would spend at least an hour with them, talking through all of their emotions. Because for a lot of people, it's not about the loss of hair, it's about the loss of control over their life, the loss of their identity, the loss of their femininity. And we would just listen, human to human, acknowledging everything that they're going through and validating what they tell us, because it is not just hair. It's so much more. And a lot of people go, it's only hair, it'll grow back. That's the last thing that somebody wants to hear when they're losing their hair.
Well, it doesn't always grow back in the same way anyway, does it? Or the same colour?
Well, there are changes, but they tend to be as a result of the treatments. It does come back usually, unless you're on long-term drugs, it does usually come back eventually to how it was before.
Okay.
quite often with the colour, it's that we've forgotten our natural colour and we're not used to seeing ourselves with grey hair or more grey hairs. So yeah, that can be a thing.
Okie doke. So then obviously what sort of material is that the wigs made from? Are they made from real hair or synthetic hair, or how do you?
Yeah, so we just source the best of everything, and that a lot of it is synthetic. You know, for a little old lady who's going through chemotherapy, and might wear the wig a couple of hours a week when she goes to Sainsbury's, she doesn't need a human hair wig. That's more difficult to manage. A little synthetic, and also wigs are so much better than what people think. You see the word wig and everybody thinks of that little old woman whose hair doesn't move, jet black wig. You know, we've all got this vision of what a wig looks like. Actually, if you get a nice wig and it's being custom cut to suit your face shape and it's the right tones, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know anything about them. So yeah, we can make them from anything, and we do. It's whatever's right for the person. It's not about the best material. It's what's right for that lady to manage.
Yeah, and so you're really giving people not just the experience of getting a wig, but what I'm getting from you is that they're getting a lot of comfort and a lot of support along the way as well, which clearly was missing in your industry from what you're saying.
That's my feeling. Yeah,
you're giving people a chance to talk about it and to express how they're feeling, which is lovely.
We all in the team that, like, in 4 years' time, Mary Smith won't remember the brown bob that she got that day. She'll remember that you held her hand and made her feel better about a bad situation. So we focus on that bit.
Oh, that's lovely. So what happened to the salon in Sunderland? Have you still got that?
Oh yes, it's still there.
So you've still got that as well.
And I'm actually still a hairdresser. So what happened there was obviously the wig business just grew arms and legs and arms and legs and more arms and legs, and it's huge now. And for a short time, I stepped away from being a hairdresser because, you know, as happens when you're building a business, I was still a hairdresser 5.5 days a week with 3 late nights, and I was doing the wig business on my own for the first probably 2 years. And it took its toll. It really did take its toll. So I had some time out, and then I went back, but I decided to stop hairdressing because my heart really, this is my purpose. This is my whole purpose in life. So I needed to keep doing the hair loss. So I stepped away from the hairdressing, but actually I found that I was unhappy. I was unhappy, and I need to be with people to be happy. And when your business gets bigger, I found myself like sitting behind a computer on meetings all day, making decisions, writing spreadsheets, doing tenders for the NHS, writing all of these things, which was important to building a business, but it took away my why, and my why is to help Mary Smith feel better. So I decided to do both. So although financially or from a business perspective, it's probably not the right thing from a happiness perspective, I still need to be a hairdresser. So I still do that.
How many days a week do you do your hairdressing?
Probably about 1.5 days a week I'm hairdressing, and the rest of the time I'm in the office building the business.
So where's your office based? Where's all your team?
So I've still got a hairdressing salon and a beauty salon and a wig studio in Sunderland. Then in Newcastle, I've got a head office and a hair loss facility in Newcastle. And then we've got pop-up clinics dotted around the northeast.
Oh my goodness, so you've got that as well. Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the longer term vision for you? Do you envisage having other wig salons in the UK, or what's your your longer term view?
So the exciting news, and this is an exclusive, is that has already happened. So we have plans to expand across the UK this year, but I am actually officially now open in Bristol and Weston-super-Mare, and very soon in Carlisle.
Oh,
There's 3 more opening in February.
that's amazing. That's not far from me because I live in
Yeah.
Somerset now. Yeah, so
Oh wow.
Bristol's an hour away. So that's
Oh,
fantastic. Well done.
oh, we'll have
Incredible.
coffee next time
We
I'm down.
will. So are you planning to go to some of the other major cities in the UK, like Manchester and Birmingham and places like that?
Yeah, yeah, plans
Yeah.
already in place. Um, Hopefully, if everything goes well, we should have 20 more sites next year.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing. In a year, that's
yeah,
incredible growth.
yeah.
So this kind of leads quite nicely onto awards, because you'd obviously won some local awards a few years back. So what was your thought process behind entering awards and then moving up to more national awards? What was your thought process behind that?
Um, so initially, I think it was people who I was connecting with were like, you should. Well, actually, quite a lot of the time, it wasn't me entering them. It was other people nominating us for them.
Mhm.
It's not something that I would think about putting myself forward for. Um, so in the beginning, we won some local awards, and actually, what that did was just spotlighted the business.
Mm.
Um, which meant we could help more people. I guess then we saw the benefit of that. We saw the benefit of that, um, and we won many local awards. Um, so with that came press,
Yeah.
newspapers want to interview you, radio would want to interview us, and so more people found us and what we were doing. With the national ones, I've never dared enter a national one. I didn't feel like the business was big enough. I have this self-doubt that um I've got this constant self-doubt that I'm not businessy enough, you know, which is something I've been working on 20 odd years.
They've got a name for it, haven't they? They call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm 25 years into being in business and I still have imposter syndrome. So
Yeah,
I think
I
we
feel
do,
like
don't we?
constantly feel like I have to validate my business acumen because I don't have a degree, all of the studying that, and don't get us wrong, I've developed my skills every year. I do training, I love training, I love learning. Um but it's only actually in the past 2 years I qualified as a trichologist, and that's
Uh-huh.
probably a first official academic thing that I've done since I left school. So yeah, I think that imposter tells us that I'm not good enough. So yeah, winning a national award absolutely blew my crazy little mind.
Oh, I mean, you were by far and away like the judges absolutely loved you and loved what you've done. And also they were really impressed with the charity work that you've done as well. And the fact that you clearly are an inspiration for anybody who is thinking about starting a business or just pushing forward with an idea, which is what you did,
Mm,
but also in a time when you were going through treatment yourself and having to deal with that. And it was lovely to hear what you were saying, in as much as that this helped you get through a really difficult time in your life. It gave you that distraction.
mm,
But that impact has been now felt so far and wide. It's
mm,
incredible. You must be really proud of what you've achieved.
mm. So I think sometimes I just get pinch me moments, and um, I think when I say that again, the imposter thing, but people, I'm asked quite often in business situations or when I'm asked to speak, people will say, so how do your team meetings go? How do you plan what you're doing next quarter? How do you do this? And and we don't, in terms of we never have a meeting saying let's try and hit this number next month. Like that is so far removed from what we talk about. We say who are we not impacting and how can we get them. How
Yeah.
we're not impacting and how can we reach them? Which communities are we not serving and how do we reach them? And when I set this up as a business, it was never meant to be a business. It was meant to be a safe space so that no woman in my care, like none of my clients who I saw as a hairdresser, if they ever went through hair loss, they would have an excellent experience. And that was being my mantra the whole way through. Um, and so, and it still is. It still is. So all we do is try and help people with hair loss, and the business side happened as a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
And that would be the greatest learning from this. If you concentrate on why you started it, you'll always be successful.
I think that's a really good quote, actually, because it is always about going back to your why. What is your why?
Mm-hmm.
And you're really clear on what your why is. And yeah, we can all get hung up on targets and spreadsheets and all of that sort of thing, but fundamentally it's about your impact, isn't it? And that's what you're saying, that that's what's so important to you. So if anyone's listening to this and they're on the early stages of their business, or they're thinking of starting a business, what's your sort of message? What would you say? What sort of tips have helped you through the last few years?
I would say that don't be a sheep. If it's already out there, I was told that the market was saturated, that there's not room for another. There's already a wig service in the northeast. We don't need another one. Like absolute bollocks. Like you know what I mean. That whatever you do it differently. You know, how can you be 10 to, like, if that's the service level that you've seen, sit down and work out how can you be 10 times better, how can you be 10 times different, who are they not looking after, when I first as an example, when I first started this, I had a lady, I think she was an African lady, who had never been able to get a wig with black lace on to match her skin tone, right? And this was through the NHS, yeah. So she'd always had to wear a European lady's wig. Now, why has nobody fixed that problem for her? Honestly, I mean, it wasn't easy because this is years ago, to find the supply. But once I did, she sees me 3 times a year, every year. She'll by fixing that little problem that nobody else was asked to fix and go to the trouble for her of finding what she needed, that's a customer for life, so fix the problems that nobody else can be bothered to fix.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice, because now she'll go and tell other people, won't she? And you've got another market that you can help, which a lot of people ignore a problem because they think it's too difficult or too expensive to solve. So what other little gems can you share? So don't be a sheep, fix problems that other people can't fix. Give us a third one.
Well, we've got a saying in the northeast that shy Ben's getting out. You'll have heard that.
I have heard that, yes.
I would say you can ask anybody that I've worked with. I'm relentless. I'm a relentless pest. If I believe in something and I want it, I just don't go away. I'm like a little dog at your leg, and I will stay testing you until I find a solution. I don't give up on what I believe is right, and I don't give up just because somebody says no. I reckon when I was trying to win the first NHS tender, I must have been told no 200 times. I must have had, like phone call after phone call, email after email, but I just didn't give up. When they don't, I didn't give up. I just started hand delivering letters. I started networking around the people I wanted to listen to us until they told them that this is a person you should listen to. Yeah, just if you believe in something, don't give up on it. It'll happen.
Yeah, I think that's one of your clear or strong qualities, the tenacity. And I'd say that runs through most of the women that win our awards. Is tenacity is a big thing. It's just relentless, just keep going, keep going. That's incredible. So what's sort of on the next few things? So you've now got these other salons opening, and you know, you have plans to expand across the UK. So that's kind of going to take your focus, is it, for the next couple of years, really?
Yeah, well, I've been working on it all of this year, but I think, you know, when I look at what my purpose is over the next 5 years, one would be national impact and European impact. Two would be to develop our own range more, which happened before COVID, but obviously that has had to that's had to slow down a little bit. And three would be to impact the future training of hairdressers. So to have some impact in that we are educating our up and coming hairdressers to know more about hair loss. So I've just been made a member of City and Guilds Advisory Board, where I hope to try and start having some impact there.
Oh, yes, because you mentioned that earlier. So that will mean that when people are training to be a hairdresser, they will get a lot more training about hair loss.
That would be the dream. That would be the
yeah.
Obviously, no, that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just using my very best pest skills to try and.
So are you trying to get the syllabus changed that they deliver?
That would be the dream. That would be the dream. So at the moment, you know, I've just been, like I say, I've just been given a place on their industry advisory board. So that's the first step.
That's amazing. Well done. And I'm pretty sure that if we check back with you in the distant future, that you will have succeeded with that. Because your passion comes across, and I'm sure you're somebody that they're going to listen to and take that advice and change that syllabus. So fingers crossed for you. Well, thank you for joining me today. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you and listening to your journey. And I know lots of people can learn a lot about, you know, how to really push forward in business from you. You're a force to be reckoned with, for sure. And you should be incredibly proud of what you've achieved and the lives that you've touched. And we will make sure that Nicola's details are in the show notes. And we will also make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, that her details are listed in the description if you need to get in contact for advice about a wig. So thank you for joining me today, Nicola. Best of luck for the future. And I'm sure there's going to be many more awards adorning your cabinet at home. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.